Let me jump on here, just say hey, tell me where you're at, where you're from, where you're listening at. I'm going to go through again, severe immunosuppression, not a cytokine storm characterized COVID-19 infections. So that's a Washington University published research article evaluating the immune systems of individual patients with severe coronavirus infection. So my heart goes out to all the families and friends, anyone who's lost a loved one or anyone who's fallen severely ill. And so I'm hoping this video will shine some light, and really it's going to shine some light in a manner that can quite possibly save hundreds of thousands of lives worldwide if we take this information and we start learning from it and realizing that there was a massive mistake. Medicine, the medical world, the paradigm of medicine. Wellness Way, think differently. If you are not under the care of a Wellness Way doc, I implore that you seek one out. Myself included, I do consultations and health coaching via telephone and online with patients or individuals. In my clinic locally in Tennessee, Clarksville, Tennessee, I provide chiropractic care as well as a Wellness Way approach in health coaching to getting your lifestyle, getting in identifying underlying contributing factors to maybe some of your chronic health problems, or in the short term right now, how can we fortify? How can we support? Naturally support, properly support? How can we know where your immune system is at this moment? So if you want help, you can contact myself individually through our website, thewilddoc.com. That's my website. You can go through there and request an online consultation or a phone consultation. If you live locally to Clarksville or anywhere in Tennessee or in Kentucky, we're right at the border. If you want to drive on down and just kind of go through what's going on with your health, how can we help you? I'm here for you. I'll talk about something that was on my heart, and I'm also, for anybody sticking around throughout this, I'm going to give away an immune panel. So if you stick around for the very end, and Anthony makes sure that I do that, I remember to do that, I'm going to give away one immune panel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of seclude the number of people who are going to get it, and I'm going to say I'm going to do it for teachers. All right? So I will give any school teacher throughout the entire U.S. the opportunity to have an immune panel, which I will pay for personally, which is a $200 value that I will pay for the panel, and then I will give a free consultation where I will explain the information found on that immune panel and ultimately guide you in a direction that may in fact help support your immune system if it needs supported, if you need to change your nutrition, if you need to add maybe supplements or things that are shown. I'll give you an example, give you a quick example. So they've done human trials in the use of chamomile. Chamomile is great for your digestive tract. It helps support your mucosal membrane. It literally, in one study, they talked about how chamomile can help support the mucosal production of your mucosal linings, such as your sinuses, your esophagus, your lungs, your digestive tract, and even urinary tract or vaginal area. So in those tracts, guess what? You need a mucosal lining to keep the cells of your lining, your intestines and others, healthy. And that mucosal barrier helps prevent infections. So there's a benefit there with chamomile alone. But what they found in cancer patients, they followed cancer patients who are undergoing chemotherapy. And it relates to the topic we're going to talk about here briefly today of immunosuppression. Chemotherapy is strongly immunosuppressive. All right, so it suppresses, it weakens your immune system. That's one of the problems. A large portion of individuals who ultimately succumb and die because of cancer, they actually die because of immunosuppression due to chemotherapy, and they ultimately develop pneumonia or some viral illness or bacterial illness that is ultimately, it comes down to being the straw that breaks the camel's back. So that being said, they gave these chemotherapy patients chamomile. And what they found is it helped elevate and increase their lymphocytes. So they went into lymphopenia, low lymphocyte counts, and they were able to administer chamomile. And by doing so, they helped elevate over ones that were not getting chamomile and chemotherapy. I'm kind of mixing up the words here in my brain here, but it's a tongue twister. Say that quick. Chamomile, chemo. Anyway, but so doing that. So that's one herb. And there are many other herbs. There are many different medicinal mushrooms. They've found a very effective mushroom known as turkey tail, which is going to be growing plenty here going into the fall. I'm actually starting to see a few turkey tail mushrooms start to sprout up. And those are the fruiting bodies. So I'll be collecting my own to make my own home medicine. But there are other herbs and mushrooms that we can support specifically for certain problems that we can find on an immune panel. So I'm going to be giving that away to teachers. So I want to give you information so that you can understand that it's not my opinion. We're actually going to be reading through a Washington University research study. So this is a peer-reviewed, published research study saying severe immunosuppression and not cytokine storm characterized by COVID-19 infections. So what they did is they actually followed COVID-19 patients in a hospital, those with severe infections. They had control subjects, they had other sepsis patients, they had individuals with pneumonia and ventilation. So they had different conditions, different types of pneumonia, different types of immunological problems like sepsis. The prevailing theory in medicine, the paradigm, and let me just read it to you and then I'll explain it. Currently, the prevailing paradigm that guides the therapeutic approach to COVID-19 is that patients are dying from the effects of cytokine storm, mediated inflammation with resultant lung and organ injury. What does that mean? The paradigm, the thought process, the way they think, all right? This is why Wellness Way docs think differently, all right? See, oftentimes medicine, the pharmaceutical philosophy, they come about your health and what's going on with your body, especially in infections, the wrong way. They often view a fever, they view inflammation as being bad for you. Your immune cells need inflammation. They need reactive oxygen species. They create those to kill infected cells. So they use inflammation to actually kill off an infected cell before that infected cell becomes that massive factory to produce more and more viruses. And eventually, once the viruses grow to a large enough number, the cell bursts, releasing these viruses into the surrounding tissues and infecting more cells and becoming a more devastating infection. So you want inflammation. So if you use strong anti-inflammatories and block that inflammatory pathway, you are suppressing what the body's doing to protect you from severe infection. So their paradigm, though, with COVID-19 was thought to be that there was a cytokine storm. What are cytokines? Cytokines are chemical messengers, basically, that tell your immune system what needs to happen and what needs to go on and what it needs to do. Does it need to produce inflammation right now, or does it need to suppress inflammation right now? When you watch the proper immunological response, you'll actually see that initially there's typically going to be a higher inflammatory response, and then there are chemical messengers, cytokines and interleukins, that are produced to trigger a downregulation and a cleanup job, basically, to reduce the inflammation. And that's the proper immune response. So their theory on coronavirus, and you have to imagine the impact that this information has now, it's going to save lives. But imagine the impact from the wrong paradigm. Imagine the impact on tens of thousands of lives, all right? Their thought was that it was an overexpression. A cytokine storm is basically an overexpression too strong of an immune response where it produced too much, like your body produced too much inflammation, thus damaging surrounding tissues and organs. And by doing so, then it was like your body was doing you all the harm. Now that Washington University has actually done the research, finally, months and months later in this pandemic, we're finally actually looking at what is going on. They were guessing. They weren't even testing. Folks, that's one of the slogans of the Wellness Way. We don't guess, we test. Lives have been lost because of a wrong mindset, a wrong way of thinking, and they chose not to test. Now, based upon this theory, folks, listen to this. The theory of unbridled inflammation, it wasn't even proven. Their theory was wrong, they're finding. that COVID-19 patients are currently being treated with, upon this theory, of unbridled inflammation, too much inflammation. Your immune system is doing something wrong and harming your body. That's the gist of it. COVID-19 patients are currently being treated with a variety of drugs that block pro-inflammatory cytokines or inhibit the inflammatory signaling cascade. Folks, their paradigm, their mindset, they guessed, and they guessed wrong. People were in a state of immunosuppression or weak immune system, an inability to mount a proper inflammatory immune response to kill off the viruses or kill off cells before they became those factories generating thousands of copies of the virus. It said the results from the present study strongly suggest that the primary endotype of COVID-19, that infection, is one of immunosuppression rather than hyperinflammation. It says, therefore, the approach to broadly inhibit the host inflammatory response may be misguided and may actually worsen clinical trajectories, the direction somebody goes. Many people I've heard where I've got connections of friends, my patients, people out there. They've got family members and friends. They'll take ibuprofen. They'll take NSAIDs. They'll take Tylenol, fever reducers. And then the severe patients have actually been put on immunosuppressive drugs to try and block inflammation being generated by the immune system, and their trajectory, the direction of their illness, went in a bad direction because of a bad mindset. Folks, people have died because they guessed wrong. Clinical trajectories, and in my opinion, is they should be testing the immune status of every single person. Literally, we're wasting tens of thousands to millions of dollars on testing whether you have the virus or not, when if we had spent all of that money on an immune panel that my friend took, immune panels that they looked at HIV patients with. CD8, CD4 ratio counts, CD4, CD8, CD3 natural killer cells and white blood cell counts. You can get a picture of where your immune system is at. Why weren't we looking at where people were? This is why Patrick Flynn in the Wellness Way has been saying, I think it's the hashtag make immune systems strong again. Hashtag make immune systems strong again. And teachers going back to school right now in my community are fearful they may catch coronavirus, COVID-19. I understand that at times I get frustrated with the system, but my heart breaks for the fact that they live in fear. I walk without fear because I know where my immune system's at. I know where my nutrition's at. And I know personally in my philosophy, for one, you could call it that, but also my faith in God. I believe God made these mushrooms that science has proven to be beneficial to support not only the number of cells you have, like chamomile and producing more lymphocytes in cancer patients, but actually mushrooms and herbs have been shown to increase the efficiency and function of your immune system. So me personally, I'm eating right, making sure that I'm not deficient, but on top of that, I'm utilizing what I like to call, if blueberries and like kale and spinach is superfoods, I like to use super duper foods. That's where you come into herbs and mushrooms. I've got mullein growing in my garden in front of my house. I've got echinacea growing in the garden in the front of my house. I've got honeysuckle bushes and honeysuckle vines all over my property. I can go out with nothing more than going out and kind of doing what God said we'd have to do after exiting the Garden of Eden and work the ground and harvest. Those are His provisions. It's amazing what these herbs are able to do. So I want to support with those things. Personally, I do that rather than supporting with isolated nutrients. Now on a tangent here real quick, I will mention, which I'm going to do a video later on it, they have multiple studies showing that zinc deficiency, something as simple as zinc minerals, which is necessary for, again, mucosal lining. That's your shield. That's your real mask, a mask that would make a difference. Your mucosal lining, your mucosal immune barrier, and the ability to prevent viral infection into the mucosal lining, and zinc is necessary for that. They did a study in nursing homes showing that zinc deficiencies were widespread in nursing homes. And without proper and adequate zinc levels, you're going to have a hard time fighting off a virus. And I don't care what virus it is. And in fact, they show in the research that supplementing with zinc can reduce all-cause pneumonia deaths, whether it's viral, bacterial, or of unknown cause. For the proper functioning mucosal linings, you better make sure. I have one patient. See, Wellness Way likes to use whole food supplements or herbs. So we actually get our zinc from oysters. And we get it organic, we get it third-party tested to make sure that there's no mercury or contamination to it. But there's other constituents in whole food sources that create balance. I'm going to go through future studies and articles showing that isolated nutrients in certain circumstances like vitamin E and others have been shown to increase certain cancer risks, minimally, but it can actually disrupt balance when you take one thing when God meant for you to eat an orange rather than just take straight ascorbic acid or vitamin C. Now, vitamin C, I'm not harping on it because actually Cochrane database, and this is one of the studies I'll go through later, showed that vitamin C actually reduced severity and duration of the common cold in people who supplemented with it. Now, they do have evidence and information that it can actually cause increased tissue damage in endurance athletes and hardcore exercisers. So there's positive and negative, but the reality is, you know what? There's a lot of people deficient. If you've got somebody living in a nursing home, I would at least beg and plead the medical community in that nursing home to test to run a nutrient panel, and then run a immune panel. You can get the kits through my office. So while I'm giving away one, I am going to say that the cost for the panel is $200. But that's not even what the test result read. Test results reads are usually $350. So a $350 value will go to a teacher. So if you're a teacher, I'm going to give the phone owner, Anthony. I don't know how to do this at a random really, but I want it to be a teacher. So I'm going to give that value to them. So they're actually going to get $550 worth of value. So, and tests are this, the rule in or rule out. Do you have a problem or are you good to go? If your immune system's where it needs to be, you're good to go. You know what? Keep your nutrition on point. Don't become deficient. Don't stress out. And hopefully it'll lower your stress and fear if you have knowledge that the immune cells that they measured in this Washington article, this Washington University study, were CD3, CD4, CD8 T cells along with natural killer monocytes. We can measure those. So what if somebody's already deficient in their immune cells, their innate immune system, which is the first initial barrier? They're the first responders. They're on the case right away as soon as you get infected. You need that innate immune response to start fighting it off, and then you've got that adaptive immune response to come in after that. But if you're deficient in those guys, or gals, we could call immune cells gals too. I don't want to be sexist towards the immune system. Who knows whether these, okay, anyways, stay on task, squirrel. But we can test those. Think about this. How much more beneficial would it have been to evaluate the status of people's immune systems and spend the millions and millions of dollars, probably billions of dollars, especially worldwide, of testing for whether somebody had the virus, when we could have been benefiting everybody who got tested? One, checking, hey, your immune system's good to go. So 2 thumbs up, you have lower risk. So don't stress out as much. Hey, we found negative results. We found deficiencies on your immune panel. You know what? There are some pretty dang simple things, and there are some God-given herbs that science shows could elevate those lymphocytes, could upregulate production from your bone marrow with certain herbs that can elevate natural killer cell counts and function. I think we would have been saving a whole lot more lives if, one, we would have been actually testing immune systems rather than just throwing immunosuppressive drugs and anti-inflammatories at all these patients. We should have got an understanding of where people were, especially when they're infected, and why not do it before they're infected? So, I'll read some more of this. Therefore, the approach to broadly inhibit the host inflammatory response may be misguided and may actually be worsening the trajectory in some COVID-19 patients due to further impairment of an already compromised host protective immune response. Circulating cytokines in COVID-19 patients, at least early in their clinical course, did not show widespread elevations. They weren't upregulating like they needed to. COVID-19 patients had either no elevations or only mild increases in the major pro-inflammatory cytokines, including tumor necrosis factor alpha, IL-1 alpha, IL-1 beta. So you look at these immune measures, and they go through details. If you want to read that, again, I'll scroll up so you guys can get the title, and then you'll be able to find it if you just Google it, severe immunosuppression, and not a cytokine storm characterized by COVID-19 infections. So that is it. So folks, think about that. How many lives could we have saved if we had only begun testing this stuff? Multiple lymphocyte subsets are lost, including CD4T, CD8T, natural killer cells that play vital antiviral roles, and in B cells that are essential for making antibodies that neutralize the virus. Well, like I've already given you, chamomile, at least in cancer patients. Again, now they've done some studies on things like licorice root, on honeysuckle, on elderberry, that show immunomodulating, and I want to use that term specifically and not boosting, even though the general statements in the media have actually been from this article is Washington University says that boosting your immune system, a potential treatment strategy for COVID-19. Now, there may be cases where people have, and especially in the Kawasaki disease or the multi-organ system failure due to inflammation, those immune profiles are typically going to be hyper-inflammatory, more of that cytokine storm. What's amazing, I just got to hand it and give credit where credit's due, folks. What's amazing about God's design is that herbs don't push one direction or the other, really. I mean, there are a few that kind of go in a stimulatory direction more than a modulatory or calming direction, but most herbs, elderberry included, honeysuckle included, reishi mushroom included. I mean, shoot, I'm going to pat myself on the back. Hopefully I can do that, give myself a shout out. That's why I helped formulate those 3 herbs into one elderberry supplement. And I did that because the research in influenza, that was way before this. So folks, what's a beauty and credit needs to be credit given to the good Lord. He's the one who designed these herbs, these mushrooms, everything. He's the one who gave the intelligence of microRNA and honeysuckle to be taken up by your digestive tract and then concentrated somehow by your body, and the knowledge and innate intelligence of your body actually concentrates honeysuckle components in your lungs and your liver where influenza hits you the worst, thus inhibiting the virus from actually attaching to and penetrating your cells and infecting your own cells. That is brilliant. Like, how in the world does the body know to take an herb, a component of an herb, bring it into your body through your digestive tract into your bloodstream, and then it concentrates it in the lungs and liver to help protect against viral infections? That is brilliant. Like, it's not haphazard. There's intelligent design there. You have to admit the beauty of God's intelligent design right there. You just, like, I can't say it any other way other than, like, God, you fascinate me. This isn't just haphazard. You eat something, it circulates throughout your bloodstream, and hopefully you have enough to be equal amounts in every single tissue and organ within your body. No, your body knows what to do with different herbs for different organ systems. Crazy, awesome, cool. Please say it with me. All right, so I think I've been on here long enough. How do we do this fairly? How do we do a giveaway fairly? Do I just then I'm like, well, the people at the beginning or end are going to be, do I just blindly just do this on it and then?
We do a question.
What kind of question would we ask?
Something from your presentation.
So, I have not looked at the comments yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this right here. I'm going to spin it up and down. So if you're a teacher, and I'm not going to look, so I got my eyes closed here. I'm hopefully not taking my phone off of Facebook. Okay, someone's still there, and I'm going to just click and hit it, and then hopefully in that screen, there'll be a teacher, all right? If you're a teacher and you said, I'm a teacher, I want an immune panel, all right? All you got to say is, I'm a teacher, in the comments. I'm still eyes closed, still scrolling. Anthony, my phone's still there, right?
Yeah, you're so good.
All right, give it a little bit longer. If you're a teacher, you need an immune panel, you want to live in, hopefully it all checks out. Now, I do need to say this too. This isn't medical treatment. These aren't medical recommendations I'd be giving you. You know what? We're just going to talk about the scientific evidence about that immune panel and what it shows and how it relates to your health and your immune system strength and capability of responding appropriately, basically to anything. Shoot, I've got studies on HIV and everything else on these immune panels. It's amazing the information that can be derived from this immune panel. And I'll teach you that, so it'll be more of a teaching session, and I'll show you things, and through that knowledge given to you, you can make choices that may benefit you. Depends on the results. So here we go. Teachers, if you're a teacher, okay, I'm on a screen. So from the top down, teacher Jackie Branch. So Jackie Branch. If you have not had an immune panel, Jackie, if you have not had an immune panel, so I'm gonna purchase the immune panel. So all you gotta call the office 931-591-2010. That's the office phone number. 931-591-2010. So I never call my office, so it's kind of hard to remember that at times. You can email me too, you can message me. We'll make sure Anthony knows your name too. So we'll reach out to you as well, but I'll be paying for the immune panel. I'll be teaching you about what the results show you and how it relates to your health and your immune system. We're gonna measure these immunological markers that Washington University measured. We're gonna measure your CD4, CD8, natural killer cells, your white blood cells. And then I'll guide you I get to teach a teacher. This will be a lot of fun. So I'm super excited for you, Jackie. If you have already had the immune panel, if you're a patient of a Wellness Way doc already had that, Jackie, then we'll pass it on to a friend or a loved one, someone like that. So I'm super excited. I think, Anthony, have I covered most stuff pretty dang good? This is kind of on the spot video today. I'll look through the chart, let you know if I know of anything else. Another thing that I have given to school board members and teachers is this, since we're talking teachers, bringing down the fear, that type of thing. So it's unique. We don't have the evidence and information necessary to say that this may be effective in terms of coronavirus or COVID-19, but they did find influenza viruses. So they did classroom studies. This is a great article and short, brief research study. It was put out by Yale, I believe it was. Let's see, Jennifer Ryman, PhD, Rochester, Minnesota, Mayo Clinic. So they're at the Mayo Clinic. This lady has gone around trying to teach people and inform people. How can we take care and protect our children and our teachers? All right. Now, this is more of the mindset of not necessarily doing something for your own personal body, but how could we change the environment to actually allow for less infectivity and less viral aerosolization and transmission of illness? So the findings from this Mayo Clinic study, looking at classrooms, they used humidifiers and they kept the humidity between 40 and 60%. Increasing the relative humidity during the winter especially, because when you turn up the heat, you dry things out. And that keeps viruses floating in the air longer, and it actually keeps the virus more infective, and it may even dry out your mucosal membrane immune system. It dries out your sinuses, your mucosal barriers, and by doing so, it exposes your cells. It exposes your body to the elements, to a virus, and it becomes easier for that virus to infect your body. So that being said, by increasing the relative humidity in the classrooms, and they had classrooms that had no humidifiers. So this is steam humidity, up to 40 to 60% humidity level. Classrooms will reduce capacity of the influenza to survive on surfaces or spread between classmates as aerosols. So there's another way that we could actually reduce the number of people getting infected, at least with influenza. That was more geared towards influenza. But it may have an effect on coronaviruses. We don't know. But at least we would be protecting them in an effective way. They said in this article, and again, if you Google this, you'll find it, humidification case study, preschool classrooms, and you Google, the main title is humidity to reduce respiratory virus transmission. All right? So, analysis of collected samples showed that the following for humidified rooms: significant decrease in percentage of total air samples containing influenza, trend towards a lower percentage of surface samples containing influenza, significant reduction in influenza presence for total air and paper samples. 13 to 27 cultures, 48% from unhumidified rooms tested infectious. 3 of the 18 cultures, 17% from humidified rooms tested infectious. Steam humidification results in a significant reduction in total number of influenza positive samples in the air and on surfaces, viral copies, and viral infectivity. So reduced sickness and illness in our children. Man, how long ago was that published, folks? Published in 2015. How many of y'all heard that? Why didn't we implement that last flu season? You got to ask the question, why don't they implement something that is extremely, it's literally like hardly anybody is going to be harmed by a little bit of an increase in humidity. No harms and massive benefits. So hopefully that's another piece of information that maybe you can share with your local school board teachers. I suggest everyone get a glimpse, rule in or rule out. That's what tests do, rule in or rule out. Something else that was put on my heart that I'm considering doing. And I think if I say I'm considering doing it and I don't do it, then I'm kind of going back. But what I'm thinking is doing this. I'm going to do, so like through Wellness Way, we can provide just the test kit. It's $200. This will be through my office only. If you get it through the Wellness Way website, that's not when the deal works out, all right? In that cost of $200, you'll get the test kit, where you can take it to a local lab or medical physician who's willing to draw your blood. They fill the vials, they send it off to the lab, you get the results, all right? Wellness Way has been doing that. You can walk away with those results, all right? One of the things I'm going to be planning to do, and I haven't decided on cost for this, is to actually do an immune panel where people can purchase the immune panel, and then anybody can attend a webinar where I'll discuss each factor in that immune panel, and then I'll teach you about the various mushrooms, herbs, medicines, strategies that science has shown is effective at boosting or building up or supporting the development of a healthier immune panel, healthier immune response capability. So I'll be doing that where it can be a lot of people. That's in the works right now. But in the meantime, for the teachers out there, I've given away one. I can't afford to give away all of them. But what I will do is for the $200 just getting the kit, I'll give a 30-minute breakdown of the results for that $200. All right? I hate seeing so many teachers live in fear. And I truly believe that if we got a glimpse, and again, this is not going to say if your immune panel is perfect that you have zero risk of infectious diseases. No, that's not the way it works. There are other factors that can play in. But if you have those immune cells and you have the right healthy ratios, then you can typically rest at night a little bit easier knowing that you have what your body needs. If you're deficient and you don't have those immune cells, and we know through the Washington University's research paper here, that COVID-19 patients with severe illness are ones of immunosuppressed states. I think if we start doing the things that science has shown could help build up that immune response in those immune cells, you know what? I personally would rest better at night. I personally would be able to go in amongst children with a little bit less stress on my shoulders. So what I'll be doing is for any teacher throughout the entire United States, again, this is a lesson. This will not be medical advice. This will simply be an informational 30-minute discussion about the results of your immune panel. But you've got to contact my office personally. Again, that's 931-591-2010. That is the phone number for my office. Along with that, you can go through the wilddoc.com and email me through there and request that. Specifically request an immune panel for a teacher, and we'll go ahead and get that out to you and provide you. You have to purchase it directly through my office. It will not work through the Wellness Way, thewellnessway.com, the corporate Wellness Way online. They charge $200, but they don't give any, and not the negative, that you get the results and you run with it on your own, and you could do your own research and own studies. I'll do it for $200. And that will enable me to sit down with you 30 minutes. We discuss the results. I point you in the right direction of information that you could further read, and then you make decisions about your health and whether you'd go forward with maybe taking a supplement, taking an herb, consuming more foods. That's what I'll do for you. So I love you all. I appreciate you all. I'm going to try and field just a couple questions, and then I'm going to jump off here. Jill Wilson says, love this idea. That would be great, Doc. Well, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate that. I thought it was a darn good thought. Thanks for the reiteration. I make myself laugh, and laughter's good for you. It boosts your immune system. And trust me, that's not the advice I'm going to get if your immune panel is deficient. You need to laugh more. I'm not going to go there. Not going to go there. Going to talk about how the health department was giving bad advice about weakening your immune system, but I'm not going to go there today. So I wish, Okay. Christina says, I wish this was common knowledge for every. Christina, that's exactly what the Wellness Way docs want. We want people, we want them well equipped, not only physiologically, physically, mentally, but the knowledge. People perish for lack of knowledge in many different ways. Yes, that's more geared towards the idea that if you don't have knowledge of the Lord Jesus Christ, then the perish there is done, over. But this example, people are dying because one, medicine had a lack of knowledge of what was actually going on with the immune systems of the patients, where their immune system was. Now that we have testing, we know that it's in a state of immunosuppression. With that knowledge and with the information out there, I will literally be using peer-reviewed, PubMed, published research articles about the immune system and herbs and mushrooms that can support your immune system. All right? So giving you knowledge, and you get equipped with that, and then you can go and equip other people with that information and knowledge, and hopefully let's save some lives. Marilyn says she's a teacher. Awesome. Again, I was able to give away one immune panel, but I'm giving a massive discount for the other immune panels. So that's awesome. What a great gift. This should be primary care for everyone. I completely agree with that. Samantha, I like your last name. Looks a lot like mine. I'm an EMT class. Does that count? She's an EMT count. Homeschool. If you're an EMT class, yeah. It's like all first responders, all teachers. Good golly, I'm going to be packed. Hopefully. EMTs and teachers, first responders, if you want to go through that and you want to gain knowledge and information. Again, this is a teaching session. This is not a medical recommendation session, all right? That's how I can give you information. Information is free. These kits, anybody can run them. Anybody can request them. Most of the time you got to pay way more money than we get, because the Wellness Way is awesome in that the collective buying power and negotiation power, and Patrick Flynn and the Wellness Way do not get kickbacks from the labs upon that, okay? But Linda, she's a teacher out there. Oh my gosh. What do I do about the homeschool teachers? Somebody's like, I'm a homeschool teacher. Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? You might be able to beg your way into that one. My wife's a homeschool teacher too. Amen to a bunch of stuff I said early on. Appreciate that. God is our greatest father, doctor, and scientist. He is the one that protects us from plagues. That's what God said. The idea that we can't do anything, the idea that we have no treatments. The idea should be, you know what? People are healthy enough where 99.8% of people don't need any treatment. They're going to survive. But let's say if people were healthy, people knew where their immune system was, people were eating right, people weren't stressing, people weren't living in fear, people weren't wearing masks believing that was protecting them, which gives them a false, like Sweden's health ministers and health specialists, like the guy equal to Fauci, which doesn't say much really, because I don't really hold Fauci in too high regards. But anyways, his position, he said masks could give people a false sense of security and we're not going to recommend it. Why don't we do something that actually works is good. So y'all, I am going to, he's located in Tennessee. Anthony said, cool. Yep, I think that's all the questions. There might have been questions early on. I appreciate it. I love you. Please, please share this video. Share, tag people, because I'm getting censored by Facebook, YouTube, other places. If you're a patient and you want this immune panel, go up to the front desk, and if I'm standing on TV like that, it'll be, stage left. All right. Is that stage left? Stage left. From being on stage looking at the crowd, is that how you talk about stage left? Okay. So stage left, that's the front desk. Ask Rachel, Taylor, or Ashley to help you out with an immune panel. Again, it's rule in or rule out. That's what we're looking for. And we're going to gain information about where you are right now with your immune system's capability of responding. And then we're going to gather information to equip you to start taking better care of yourself so that you can actually elevate those immune cells to the point where if you got hit with a virus, I don't care what it is, whether it be bacteria or a virus or other infectious agents, guess what? If you have a stronger, a healthier immune response, if you are feeding your bone marrow, if you're feeding your body the right raw materials to produce those immune cells and equip them to properly function when they come in contact with a pathogen, guess what? We have only benefited you. You have been helped. All right. So let's help people out there. Please share it, tag people, because I'm getting censored by Facebook. That's a way you can get people this information and knowledge and get the word out so that we can share the truth and ultimately we will save lives. I love you all.